Are any of you little brats old enough to remember when Perfect Dark first came out on the N64? This game came out in the year 2000, which means a lot of young gamers wouldn't have had the chance to play it. Fortunately for anyone who missed out, Rare decided to re-release the game on the Xbox in high definition.
What?
Because apparently nowadays anything not in HD isn't worth playing. Perfect Dark is the unofficial sequel to GoldenEye, and back then sequels didn't disappoint. This was before HD, back when what you could do in a video game was being pushed farther each year. So when a sequel was released, it was very typical for the new game to play as the old, but with more guns, levels, enemies, and boobies. For anyone from the Call of Duty generation, the thing that has just popped up at the top of the screen is called a health bar. Said thing will appear when you take damage from enemies, and will not regenerate. Although this may seem foreign to some gamers, if you take away the consequences of being shot, all you're left with is a game which plays like Call of Duty. You're playing with a different set of rules and your health regenerates. There's no punishment for taking damage, so you take more risks and are less cautious. You can play however you want if you think it's fun, ruining the genre. You can pretend you like it, I won't stop you from pretending. The only difference is when you complete a level of Call of Duty, you won't get no sense of achievement. The point I'm trying to make is this game's 10 years old and it plays better than modern shooters. I'm not saying all old games play better than modern ones, but there are a rare few. And I've been playing a lot of those old games lately, so I know what I'm talking about. 9 out of 10 times going back and playing older games feels like Christmas did when you found out Santa wasn't real. You always remember it being much better when you were younger. But when playing the Perfect Dark remake, it's exactly how I remember it. It's as good as I remember it. Okay, so the graphics weren't in HD back then, but they were the equivalent to HD for the time. Oh, by the way, double silenced Falcons are amazing. It makes me feel like I'm playing Hitman. In fact, any level you start with a silenced pistol just reminds me of James Bond films. I could do without this Perfect Dark Zero reference, the way they've kept the laptop from it in the achievement list. It's like if you make the best game of all time, then tell your fans you're making the sequel on the GameCube. But then the company gets sold to Microsoft. So then all your fans run out and buy an Xbox, only to find out it'll be on the 360. Then release the game on November 17th, even though the Xbox isn't actually released until November 22nd. So you get the game on the 17th, and you get the Xbox on the 22nd. If you're wondering what that might feel like, then just pause the video now, and stare at this image for 5 days. So 3 consoles and 5 years later you finally get your hands on Perfect Dark Zero, and it's nothing like the original. Would you really want to remind people about this? At least they got the name right, Zero, because that's exactly how much it has in common with the original. I'm just kidding, I just fucking hate it though. It wouldn't be much of a Perfect Dark review if I didn't at least mention the multiplayer. It's the thing I play the most, and it's probably as good if not better than GoldenEye's multiplayer. Which is a bold statement, but I prefer it to GoldenEye, because you can play it on your own against bots, or work your way through the 30 challenges. There are a few cheap weapons in the game, like the Farsight I'm using now. It can see through any wall on the level, and is really easy to rack up a lot of kills with. It's not the sort of gun you'd use in a competitive match, but it's a lot of fun to use, and I haven't seen anything like it in modern games. Perfect Dark isn't just relevant today because of its gameplay. The president in it is black, and this isn't something they changed just because Obama's in office. It was like this in the original. In fact, they didn't really change anything from the original. Even these blinding lights are still in it, which I have to say is one thing that you could argue they got wrong. Because now everywhere you look it's energy efficient lights that are nowhere near as bright as this. A lot of people complain they get dizzy and feel nauseous when they play Perfect Dark, and to be honest I think these lights are to blame. Levels like this are what makes Perfect Dark great. Having a gunfight in this plane just makes me feel like I'm in a movie, and the way the enemies react to what you do just looks real. One thing I haven't mentioned is that there are aliens in the game. I'm not even sure why, I've been playing this game for years, but I never really thought to listen to the story. Oh, I have to feed the fish. It's gone weird. The aliens are called Skedar, which is really weird because at the time I was playing a game called Incubation on the PC, and it also had aliens like the Perfect Dark ones, except they were called Skegar instead of Skedar. Can't be coincidence, but at the same time, as far as I know, Incubation has nothing to do with Rare. I even tried looking online to see if there was a connection with the name, but as far as I can tell, there is no other aliens called Skegar or Skedar. Shooting this rock away just reminds me of Zelda, when you have to blow up boulders with your bombs. Have to watch out for the invisible Skedar. They'll just sneak right up on you. Another secret Zelda wall here. Now you have to push this little box onto the square. You just wouldn't find objectives like this nowadays in games. And I think this is what this game's all about. Just makes you so giddy and happy that you're playing something so old. See Perfect Dark in my next year's top 5 first person shooters.